Volkswagen has been on quite a roll, not just here in India, but worldwide. We've seen a whole lot changing from the brand, and that's not just about all the rebranding and the new rush of colors that we are seeing in the model line, but also the models themselves. There's also a lot of talk about its electrification strategy, and it's interesting to see that India continues to be one of the key markets that pushes all of these big new changes. We have seen successful rollout of the Taigun in India already over the last year. Now, the whole focus shifts to the second product of the India 2.0 strategy, which is the Virtus sedan. The first teasers are out. And so now, as we look at the global premiere happening in India as well, I'm very happy to welcome a member of the board for Volkswagen, who's responsible for marketing, sales, and after sales, Klaus Zellmer. Good to see you, Mr. Zellmer.
Good to see you, Siddharth. Thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. And I know that you have a busy schedule, so this time is very appreciated. The introduction you heard from me, of course, sort of sets it up in terms of what I want to talk with you about. But let's straight away focus on the sedan first. We did discuss it in the past as well when we last spoke. Now we're sort of at the threshold of the car actually making its big debut. Your thoughts in terms of the anticipation?
Well, as we all know, the sedan segment is actually one of the segments that doesn't show the growth potential that we would like to see in the segment. But we also know that there's not a lot of choice for customers in that segment. So we want to add choice. We want to add choice with a Volkswagen. The Virtus is going to do that. I think it's very promising. The first reactions that we've seen internally, externally, they're very promising. We're proud to add yet another car into the Indian market that speaks the VW language in terms of quality, best choice. And I think our team in India has done a great job bringing that car into the market. And let's see how consumers then react towards it.
It's good from a timing perspective, because I know while, over the last 18 odd months, maybe actually more, 2 years, the focus has been on SUVW. So the whole SUV aspect of the brand really coming to the fore. But we've also seen the locally produced Polo now bowing out of production. So given that, how relevant is the timing of this sedan's arrival from a market perspective?
I think it's very relevant because it increases our footprint. It increases choice. It gives our consumers, customers, fans, and dealers, of course, something to enjoy. And yes, of course, it doesn't stop there. As we all know, India, by the mid of this decade, 25, 26, will be the third biggest market in the world. And of course, Volkswagen wants to be part of that journey to make sure, that people can enjoy our cars in their daily lives. Let's see what else we can come up with. We're working hard with our team in India to find the best products suitable for the market, but also suitable for our financials. And that's a bit of a challenge, as you know. But I promise you that we're fighting hard to be part of the top 3 markets with a big lineup for VW.
That's actually very encouraging to know that top 3 would mean a significantly larger set of cars being sold here. You said that you're looking at what next in terms of the product mix that you want to bring to the market. Is that still very much centered around MQB A0 IN?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, Siddharth, you really are an expert. It's nice to talk to you. It's exactly what we're working on right now. But as you know, within the Volkswagen Group, we have the brand Škoda. Škoda is moving forward, taking the lead with a sub-4 car that everybody's anticipating. Now, of course, we have not fully joined the team on the sub-4, as you are all aware of, but we're working on that too. It's not a final no. It's something that we need to work on. We need to see what the reception and the chances, the opportunities of that car is, and let's see. It's a decision that hasn't been made finally, but it certainly has been made that we will not join the journey with a sub-4. So that could be another opportunity going forward in in India, of course. And when I said top 3, I meant the top 3 markets that India will be part of globally as the automotive market. I think it would be a great ambition if we want to become top 3 as VW. That's a little further away.
But I'm very happy for that to happen as well. Now, going back to the sub-4 car idea, I understand that that it's not something that you've taken a decision on, But would you be sort of constrained by Škoda's decision in the sense body style, etc., or would you be able to sort of use the same aggregates, use the same general idea of what that model is going to be, but still explore a different body style?
Well, the challenge with that segment is that is super competitive, especially in terms of our costs. The balance you have to cut is give each car its own personality. And when we talk body style, of course, different body styles, add to that to have an own identity, an own personality. On the other hand, if you do that, that means a lot of costs that you add to the equation in that business model. So this is exactly what we're currently discussing, what makes sense. Now, India is so big as an opportunity for us. I think also with our current dealer network that we could very well have a car that is close to the sub-4 that Škoda is working on. And then be in the market, then saying, well, we want to be completely different and then never arrive.
I think that's a fair assessment, Mr. Zellmer, and I appreciate that because, from a volumes perspective, that product potentially could sort of really make a big difference, especially with the Polo now out of the equation. Now, when you talk about doing a product like that, with the Taigun and now with the Virtus, we have a very clear understanding that India was the lead market, but you always had the plan was always to export from here to other markets as well. Would that have a bearing on your decision on that sub-4 meter car as well? Does it have a potential in other markets?
It's got its biggest potential due to the regulations in India with the sub-4, as you know. So let's see, we're exploring that too, of course. We want to use all our investments and spread them wide. So we're looking into that as well. There could be markets that will be very happy to have that car on sale there too, yes.
Now, the production at Pune, which is of course shared with the Škoda brand, is now centered around MQB A0 IN. So we already know that that's going to be the sort of big focus area for some years to come, including of course even the 1 liter powertrain. But when you start talking about addressing other markets, we've already seen a fairly robust sort of an inquiry and demand coming for cars like the Taigun, soon now for the Virtus as well, from especially Latin America. How are you sort of planning your overall production mix in terms of being able to hit peak capacity in Pune and also maintain a sort of a good share of which cars go?
That's an interesting question, Siddharth, because currently we're managing supply. So, as you know, the semiconductor supply shortage is something that keeps us very busy in terms of producing enough cars to cover the market demand globally. I think that puts a limit into our current reach in terms of, Pune, for example, to increase production volumes, to invest more, and to see what countries, especially Latin America, would be the right ones to export into those countries. So we haven't progressed in that aspect very far, but of course it's always on our agenda to check those opportunities as well. Let me come back to the current situation as well, though, because as we all know, semiconductor shortage is something that keeps us very busy and sometimes also frustrated, I have to say. Volkswagen, we have the highest order bank ever in our history, and customers waiting for our cars. So this is our focus at the moment, also for India, because we had to cut back production there as well, as you know. So with the Taigun, we could have sold a lot more cars. The order bank is great. It's very promising. The Virtus, at the moment, I presume, is going to take the same avenue. So we have to manage that. And then from that solid ground, with the perfect support of our team in India and the products, we're going to see what other opportunities we have outside India with cars from India.
And I can tell you that I've already started getting queries from some of my colleagues in the Latin American regions. So, I think that anticipation is there. And what's interesting is that, they are also looking at the product as being superior to the cars that were coming out of Brazil. Does that sort of set this up really nicely in terms of, because we've had, of course, even in the past, the Vento used to go from India to Mexico, for example. So does that sort of help with the future planning, because you already have this robust export pipeline in place?
Of course it helps, I mean, confidence always helps. And of course, a sentiment in the markets that VW stands for quality. And especially, now with our new cars coming from India, that's like a head start. Yeah, we're going to use that.
And for the Virtus in particular, because you mentioned that there are still constraints. I mean, the last time we spoke, I remember you were sort of grappling with the semiconductor issue. Now I think, we keep hearing about how there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So given that, and given that things are slightly improving, and you're also being able to plan a little bit better, therefore, how would you sort of play this? Because there's a lot of demand still for the Taigun, at a time when it's still in its takeoff stage. How do you sort of balance the production between these two models? Because when the new car comes, of course, there'll be a lot of anticipation and excitement around that too.
I think since it's two new cars, and unfortunately it's only two new cars, I think both of them are seeing a bright future. I don't think we have to balance them. We have to give it full throttle on both of them and use the opportunity of having such good products in the market now.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question that you may not want to answer. So I'm giving you the little disclaimer at the start. But this is from an understanding point of view, because when such programs are put into place, especially since this one involves Škoda as well, at the start, there's always a sort of an understanding that, look, this is the way we think this is going to go in terms of production, the kind of volumes both brands would look at. But once the cars are in the market, sometimes, the perception, the demand, they all play a role in sort of realigning those numbers. Where I'm going with this is that we seem to find that the Taigun has a longer waiting period, bigger demand. Has that affected the production? Would you say that there is now going to be a greater impetus for the production of Taigun versus, say, the Škoda cars?
I wouldn't say that. No, I don't think. Our competition actually is outside the group. So we want to increase our footprint as a group. In India, that means Škoda and VW. So we don't have to see on whether we can now sell more VWs versus Škoda. We have to ramp up the whole production to satisfy demand and make that business case pencil, because the more that business scale always helps. And I think we were sort of ambitious with our original planning. Now that seems to be doable. It might even lead to more opportunities in terms of sales volume. And of course, we want to explore that and then use the opportunity. And with a strong business case, there are more investments that we can consider.
The way that initially you may have considered the demand for the higher priced, the higher spec, or the more powerful variant, perhaps not being as much as what it has actually turned out to be. So getting the DSG gearbox, the 1.5 engines, again, allocation versus demand, how are you balancing that out? Because I'm sure some of that's going to happen with the Virtus as well.
Yeah, we anticipate that now, but let's not forget, currently we have less supply than demand out there. Yeah, so of course, we want to sell the best possible package, and of course the 1.5 package for us is more profitable. But we also want to reach an audience that that we can then develop within the VW brand into higher product lines. So that's why we need that entry point with a 1.0. But at the moment, I wouldn't take the current order intake and spread between 1.0 and 1.5 to be something that we're going to see for the coming years. I think it's very much driven by us, by actually the demand exceeding the supply possibilities. So let's wait and see once the market is in full swing again, once we have a balanced demand and supply, what the real preference is. We can react. We have a very flexible production system, 1.0 or 1.5, and then we can deliver what customers want.
Well, there's a staggering number of them who seem to want the 1.5. We keep getting a lot of feedback from that as well.
That's true.
But with good reason, I have to say. The aspect of, now maybe just looking at a quick couple of topics which are a little bit more global from a Volkswagen Group point of view, or, Volkswagen as a global brand. So much talk about the ID brand focus. We've seen, of course, the vehicles themselves. We've had a World Car winner that's currently still reigning. In that context, I know we spoke about, India not perhaps still being ready, but globally, what is the sense between last year and this year for you, where the ID family goes? how Volkswagen is seen now as an EV brand as well.
Mm. Well, I think we can all be proud of what Volkswagen has done in this transformation in its first years. And as you know, it's a long journey, the transformation. But if you look into ID development, our ID4, ID3, now the ID5 coming, the ID Buzz on the 9th of March. Watch that world premiere, Siddharth. It's got some surprises in there. You might like it.
I've been looking at all the European colleagues of mine with the really colorful prototype cars that they've been driving. So yeah, I'm very really looking forward to seeing the actual production version.
Yeah, the car is great. Let's come back to our last year's performance in terms of battery electric vehicles. We have the #1 battery electric vehicle sales position in Europe. And at the same time, we're still #1. The best-selling car still is the Golf. So what we've been talking about last time is that we have to manage a transformation, and actually our current product portfolio has to pay for the transformation, which is mainly, of course, internal combustion engines and hybrids, with a bigger profit margin. To then benefit from scales with our battery electric vehicles, and close the transformation for Europe, for example. By 2030, we will have about 70% battery electric vehicle share in the market. So it's going well. I think, exceeding our expectations in terms of BEV sales. We sold 369,000 battery electric vehicles, which is a lift of 73% versus 2020 in 2021. So that's pretty staggering. And I think the proportion, just to give you an indication, of purely battery-powered electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles doubled. So we're now at 7.5% already. It's a long walk until the 70%, but we gave us time until 2030 to do that. And at the moment, everything is going according to plan. And you might have seen, there's more imagination that is fueling us or powering us electrically. Which is the ID Life that we've shown at the IAA in Munich, which is a car that is already indicating towards our philosophy in the future that the car will be your companion. It's not just something on wheels that takes you from A to B. It will be your companion for life. And when we take that a step further, you are all aware, of course, of the Trinity project. Trinity will be the quantum leap in the second half of this decade, arriving to the markets, that will take us into autonomous drive mode, will be offered in that car. And the car, and we're working hard at the moment to finalize its concept. And we're talking about the extension of your living room. We're not talking about a mobility device. We're talking about, what's happening in a car in the future if you can tell the car where it takes you. And, for that time, you can work, you can enjoy, you can sleep, whatever. So it's a really exciting time. It starts with the battery electric vehicles, and of course, with added technology towards autonomous drive mode. There's a lot going on. I think, we're seeing more change in this industry in the next 5 years than what we've seen in the past 50 years.
Oh, absolutely. And I must tell you that one of my World Car colleagues was kind enough to actually share a report on the prototype drive of the ID Life. We carried that on our show, and we just did that as, let's see how people react. But it had this crazy reaction. People just wanted to know when it's launching, which was not the reaction we expected. So between last year and this year, I think the one thing that has changed is awareness. I mean, by no means are we still ready for a huge electric revolution, but we now have 14 EVs on sale in the market, which was not the case last year. It was just 2. Yes, large number of those are still at the very high end, so they're sort of flagship niche products. But in the coming year, we have been told that between now and, say, March next year, there should be another 10 models coming in. Given the fact that a lot of players are starting to do this, maybe for reasons of brand strengthening or marketing and not necessarily sales or volume, would you now start to think about some sort of an electric entry into India?
Oh, we have the platform. We're scaling everything, but we have to do it step by step. We can't do it all at once. Now let's see. I think we all are happy to see India moving towards that direction. Carbon neutrality, of course, is important for the globe, not for us as individuals. So let's see when we can join that game, when we can join that opportunity with our battery electric vehicles. But the big advantage for Volkswagen is we work on platforms, and those are scalable. The MEB platform has proven with the ID3, 4, 5. If you look into China, there are even more derivatives. And now with the new platform, with the Trinity, the so-called SSP platform, there are huge opportunities. And of course, this is the big benefit of being such a large car company, that you can choose from the shelves and say what suits best. At the end of the day, you have to find the right target group with the right price, the right proposal. But I think we have the prerequisites to do so. And of course, we're observing the battery electric vehicle journey of India closely to see when the ideal point of time is for us to join.
Well, I can tell you a lot of potential customers keep asking us. So, at least the interest is there now, which is very heartening to see. One last topic, Mr. Zellmer, the transformation that you speak of is something that, of course, gets dominated by EV. But at the same time, we've also seen as a brand, you've sort of reinvented what Volkswagen stands for. I mentioned at the start, it's everything from the model lines to the colors to the designs. And also, I think, to the kind of customer you today speak with. Even here in India, we find there's a new kind of customer who now looks at Volkswagen. How has that part of it gone for you over the last few months? And how do you anticipate that going forward now that you've had some time to sort of look at both that part of the strategy as well as the electrification?
I think one part of the strategy going forward will be that, we will be less of a car manufacturer. We will be more of a service provider to people, which will then be called mobility services. And, the vision that we have is that you, at one point of time, will have an app on your phone, and you can decide, for your mobility needs, be it for hours, for days, for weeks, for months, or for years to come. So what do I mean? New target groups, they are less committed to a purchase, for example. They're less committed to a 3-year lease program. They want to have the car they need right now, and they don't want to commit for a long time. So when we talk about being a service provider, and our service will be mobility, we've started a program, a subscription program for Volkswagen here in Germany. Because he said target group, the interesting thing is people that are in that program, we're selling between 100 and 200 a month now, which is, is a decent number. It gives you a good feel about who's interested in such a program. And the people are 10 years younger in that program. Yeah. So it's interesting. So it's, it sort of confirms what many people say, that the commitment for long-term contracts and stuff like that is possibly something that we will not see dominating the market, the car market, like in the past years. And 10 years younger is something, every car manufacturer is trying to target younger target groups, the Generation Z and all that. So with different proposals, that actually works. And when you talk about the brand and brand identity, I think we're more colorful, we're more open. We stand for our values. Our engagement, for example, at the European Football Championship, the Soccer Championship, we saw the image values actually really getting a lift, because we showed our ID, our future, and the face of a brand that is, from my point of view, looking back on it and seeing our image lift, is very positive. And that's, of course, something that makes us confident that we are on the right journey, but we need to work hard to manage the transformation and take as many people along as we can.
And you think things like subscription could take off in India as well?
We have to see. I mean, I have to talk to our colleagues in India. We're collecting experiences at the moment. But wherever we launch subscriptions, we see a different kind of target group joining the brand. And that could be something, you know, it's a, from a business case of point of view, it's hard because it is completely different. The way we have designed it for Germany right now, it penciled from the first day, so it's profitable. So it combines all the benefits. Now we have to find similar business models in different markets, and let's check India. Maybe there's a market for it. I'll talk to my colleagues.
So, Mr. Zellmer, I'm going to hold you to your promise made last time about getting me into an ID4 when I'm in Wolfsburg, because I'm still dying to drive it. So I hope that happens soon. But
I'll add an ID bus to that, okay, to make sure you're coming.
That totally makes me more convinced. So thank you for this. And also, of course, for your time today. All the very best with the rollout of the Virtus. Can't wait to drive that as well.
Thank you very much. All the best.